Peace and greetings, y'all. Welcome back to my channel. This is Deja Serenidad, and today we are going to talk about triggers because I'm triggered. My name is Deja, and I hope you find serenity.
I hope you find serenity. I hope you find serenity.
All right, y'all. So I'm sure by now and especially if you click this video, I'm sure by now you have at some point heard the term triggered. We're using it like crazy these days, and it's honestly a lot. So let's talk about what triggers kind of point to, and also what to do when we become triggered. So I'm going to talk about this through the lens of a personal experience I just had the other day. I'm in a relationship, and whenever you're in an intimate relationship, this is where our triggers tend to surface. So when I'm alone and it's just me, you know, it's very easy for me to not trigger myself because I just know what feels comfortable for me. But when we experience discomfort, it can be a teacher and it can be a guide rather than something to run away from. Now, in my past, throughout my childhood, I really disliked conflict and discomfort because I experienced a lot of that in my household. So all I ever wanted was to just be at peace. Now, just because I still experience triggers, that doesn't mean I'm not at peace. It just means there's still things inside of me that I need to work through. And it's a blessing, actually, when triggers come up because they teach us what we have still going on inside of us. This could be old subconscious programming that is ready to be eradicated. It could be old feelings that have been stuffed down. And it can also be limiting beliefs that we've been holding on to deep within ourselves that, again, it's time they come up so that they can come out so that we can have a better life experience. So in my case, I got triggered because I felt like my partner was being kind of critical of me in a way that hurt my feelings. And like, it was the language that he used that made me feel like I wasn't somebody who was worthy to him based on what he said. And we've moved through this and we're in a good place now. But what the trigger brought up in me was actually it unlocked some things from my childhood that I needed to unpack. So in the instance where I was triggered by him, I was so upset, I didn't even want to talk anymore. And this is common for me. When I get really angry, I don't even want to talk. I just want to go into myself, go be quiet for a little while and like move through it. So I needed to stop talking. I needed to get off the phone. I was like, I can't talk to you because I'm so angry. Now, luckily, I have a level of consciousness where I know when I'm experiencing feelings, I'm not here to blame my feelings on someone else. Even if it may appear that, oh, this person pushed my buttons and it's their fault and I'm mad at them. It's like, no, actually, I'm experiencing anger. Me, Deja, I am experiencing anger right now. I am experiencing frustration right now. What you said may have triggered it, but it had to in order to trigger it, it had to already be within me. So in this particular case, you know, I wasn't blaming this person. I was just like, wow, I feel very angry right now and I need to be with my feelings. And I can't lie, a little bit of the anger at the time I was kind of pointing it towards them, but I needed time to process it so I could stop doing that. But basically, I needed to literally go to sleep and rest and look at it later when I was in a new place. Because while I'm experiencing frustration and anger, I have a really hard time coming back to my center. You know, I tend to, when I get upset, like those old programs, those old thought patterns, negative thoughts will be running through my brain and they don't serve me. So I had to just let that all go. And then the following day, when I was in process, I was actually reading this book called Conscious Loving. And I've really been enjoying this book. A friend gifted it to me a long time ago, and I started it a long time, like 2 or 3 years ago. And I just didn't end up continuing through it. It was actually during my last relationship, I started reading it, and then that relationship ended. So I kind of put the book to the side and I was like, I don't need this right now. And then I picked it back up now that I'm in a new relationship because I'm like, oh, this is knowledge that I need. I need to know how to be conscious when I am in a loving relationship. So what I was reading about was about how often our relationships or our reactions will mirror that of our parents. So I stopped reading and I just sat and I reflected on what I witnessed in my parents, okay? And I remembered immediately that my mom, when she gets upset or angry, she is very quick to hang up. She's very quick to, like, basically shut down whatever the other person is saying so that she can go and process. So I know that I see that mirrored in my behavior. In this case, I did hang up on my partner, which was very rude. And of course, the other person doesn't like to experience that, but I felt so justified because I was so angry and I was like, I can't even talk to you, click. But this is a pattern that I witnessed for all of my life. To this day, when my mom gets really angry, she still hangs up on me. It's not that common anymore, but it's true. And I was like, oh, so this is an unconscious pattern that I've developed, seeing my mom hang up on my dad, hang up on me and my brothers. Whenever she gets upset, whenever she gets angry or frustrated, she immediately shuts down and doesn't want to talk to folks. So I was like, okay. And I remember in my experience, being hung up on never felt good. It never felt good. We can at the very least say, hey, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed right now. And I would rather take some time to process my feelings so that I'm not projecting anything onto you, so that I'm not, yelling at you or being mean to you. I need to take some space because there's nothing wrong with that need to take space. And I have learned that in my own experience, because for me, when I'm angry, I'm not the best at communicating. But you can give me literally 3 to 5 minutes and I can have moved through those feelings. Like, I'm that type. I can move through my feelings, but I need some silence to move through them. Because if I keep hearing the person who I feel triggered by, I can't hear you right now because I'm mad. So give me like 5 minutes or even just 5 deep breaths. And then I can come back in with a more open heart and a more open mind, and I can listen better. So by understanding this about myself and being able to communicate this with my partner, now we know, okay, when we're triggered, Deja needs a little bit of space, just a little bit of space or a few deep breaths to come to a more centered space to communicate more clearly. So yeah, that was one part of it. But it went beyond that. I realized that there was a lot more that this trigger uncovered, because I thought it was just about how my partner saw me. That's what I was thinking. But it was actually, when I know that everyone is a mirror, everyone is, whatever I'm experiencing in others is a reflection of what I've got going on in me. So now I'm like, how do I see myself? Do I see myself in that negative light? And that's why I think that he's starting to see me in that negative light. And I realized I had years and years and years of seeing myself as not being worthy, as not being good enough, of judging myself, being very critical of myself. So now when people are critical of me, it reminds me of what I do to myself. And I know that it doesn't serve me. And when someone else does it, I can see it more clearly than when I do it to myself. So this unraveled even more. I was reflecting on my childhood, and I remembered a childhood memory. And I am referring to my relationship with my mom, but I want to bring clarity to the fact that me and my mom have a wonderful relationship now. We have done a lot of healing. There's still more healing to do. But I do not judge my mom because I have a new level of understanding. But I am going to share an experience. So when I was a kid, my mom put me in dance companies, dance classes since I was very little, me and my older brother. And because my mom was a dancer. So she put me in this one company that was like all white pretty much. I think I was the only black girl at the time. And we had a show, and I was around 8 or 9 years old. I had to be even younger than that because I'm pretty sure it was was I in South Carolina or was I in Georgia? I can't remember if I was in South Carolina or Georgia, but I had to be between the ages of 7 and 9. I was pretty young. I was definitely elementary school age. So we had a show, we had this dance, and it was like the final number of the show. And for this dance, it was like the theme was rain. So there was like the projector behind us with these cool like lighting things, and then we had to wear blue, and the whole thing was to like simulate rain through our dance. And of course, they're all white people. The teacher was a white lady, and she was asking everyone to spray their hair and make their hair wet so that we could kind of like flip our wet hair around on stage. Like that was supposed to be a part of the visual aspect of the show. And I told my mom about it because I'm black, and I've always had natural hair. I didn't have a perm or nothing. And if you know, you know, we can't just wet our hair. Like our hair is not straight like that. So my mom basically talked to the teacher about it, was like, my daughter can't do that because she's black. And she was like, that's okay. Like, she can just still do the dance. She doesn't have to wet her hair. So my mom, the day of the show, she got my hair freshly pressed. It was very slick, laid, perfection. But we got to do the show. We were all in the dressing room. Everyone's getting ready for the final number. You know, I'm a child. I'm seeing all my other friends spraying their hair and they're having so much fun. And I'm like looking at them and I'm like, I want to do that. I want to spray my hair. And I, of course, logically knew like I shouldn't spray it because it's going to get puffy. It's going to get nappy. But I was like, I'll just spray it just a little bit to give a little, you know, a little zhuzh to it. So I sprayed it. And then, of course, then I went out and I danced and I was flipping it around plus sweating. And after the show, I pretty much had, you know, my afro back. I mean, it wasn't like, it was still kind of straight-ish. Y'all understand. The black people know what I mean. But it was sticking out, but it was not as nice as it was when I had just freshly gotten it done before the show. So when I got out to the lobby where my mom and my dad had come to see this show, that's why I think I must have been in Georgia. So I think I must have been younger. I think I must have been 7 or 8. But because I know I moved to South Carolina when I was like 9 years old or 8 years old. Anyways, my dad was there, I know for a fact, because my mom was so angry at me for having wet my hair. Like, I don't remember all of her words, but I remember her telling me, like, why would you do that? I told you not to wet your hair. I just got your hair done. I just got your hair done. And now look at you. Now look at your hair. Like, do you think this looks good? Like, that kind of energy. And, of course, I'm like a child and I'm feeling sad. And I remember I pulled out my brush. And I remember vividly, like, either it was a brush or, like, one of my thick combs. And I was just crying silently in the lobby. And I was just combing my hair, thinking if I just comb it, it won't be so bad and she'll say it's okay. And I was so hurt, y'all. I was so devastated. And I was proud of the dance and all that. I had fun. So it was just, instead of like, when I went out there, my mom was immediately mad. And my dad has a different energy than my mom. So he kind of pulled me to the side and was like, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. It's okay. Like, we're about to go get pizza. You can get your hair done again. It's not the end of the world. That's always been my dad's energy. He's got like a more positive mindset. And I don't remember what else happened with my mom. She might have like, you know, let it go. I don't remember anything else. I remember getting pizza afterwards. And that cheered me up. And pizza is one of my comfort foods. But thank God for my dad because he brought a little bit of balance in there. But when I was reflecting on my childhood and I was like reflecting on like, why do I not feel like I'm enough sometimes? Or why do I feel like I'm not good enough? Or why do I have these negative thoughts about myself? And this memory is what came up. And it had me realizing, wow, like my mom was actually pretty critical of me throughout my whole childhood, throughout my life. I always had to get really good grades. Like my mom was the type, like if I came home with a B, she was like, oh, you should have got an A. Like, this is nothing to be proud of. She wasn't too harsh all the time, but overall, my mom was pretty critical. And I see now that obviously those are learned patterns. So I imagine that her parents were very critical on her. And so she, you know, internalized that and then projected it back onto me. And I always felt like she was more critical of me than my brothers. Maybe because I'm her only daughter and she sees herself in me. And they have their own experiences. I'm sure they also feel, actually, I'm sure my brothers also feel criticized by my mom, but that was just the story that I created for myself. I always felt like she was harder on me than my brothers. I felt like they got in trouble and were able to get by a lot easier than me. And I felt like I was getting in trouble more. And this whole thing of always being in trouble, always being wrong, you know, it made me internalize feelings of, I'm not even good enough to be a human. Like, I'm not even good at this human stuff. Like, literally, everything I do is wrong. I'm always making mistakes. I do nothing right. And people are very critical of me. People want to judge me because I'm just not good enough. These were the things that I subconsciously internalized, you know, because I didn't say those words to myself when I was a child, but subconsciously, that's what I was downloading. And I saw it come up when I was a teenager. I was very depressed. When I was a young adult, like early college, I experienced so much depression. And I realized that I had this pattern of feeling like I'm not enough. I'm not good enough, or I'm bad. I'm wrong. Like I'll never be worthy. type of energy. So all of this came from one little trigger from my relationship. I realized that there was so much within me that needed to be uprooted, you know, with love. I needed to look at it and release it with love. I needed to understand what is the root of this trigger. This is inner child healing. So that day that I unlocked this memory, I went into, this was like 2 days ago. I went into a very low place. I was very depressed. It was like I activated this around like 10 in the morning, 11 in the morning. And then I immediately just started crying. And I felt so sad. And all of those feelings were coming up. My mind all day was like, I'm not worthy. I'm just not good enough. I'll never be good enough. I was even mad at myself for having been triggered and having hung up on my partner. Now, I'm not good enough. I'll never be enough to be in a good relationship. All these old thoughts that have been deep within me. Because on the top, I'm like, I'm good. I'm worthy. I love myself. But deep down, I still had some feelings of like that wasn't the case. And also in my mind, I had old patterns of thought that say, you're not good enough. You're not worthy. No one loves you. These things that are not true. But I started to believe them because I kept telling myself that. And the other day, 2 days ago, I was telling myself this. I was telling myself, I just don't feel good enough. I just don't feel worthy. I just don't feel like I'll ever be enough. And then I'm judging myself. Then I'm looking for things to judge about myself. I'm like, look at these things. Like, oh, like I haven't washed these dishes yet. And oh, like I haven't done this thing on the farm. And oh, I haven't, like my money situation, all these different things. I just was on a spiral. And honestly, y'all, I give thanks. Because I released all day. I was crying. I was on and off crying all day. I was on and off crying all day long. This was on Wednesday and today is Saturday. So it was a few days ago. I remember now that it was Wednesday. But yeah, I was so sad. I was so sad. I was so hurt. I was hurting myself more. But amidst all of this, I had loving awareness. So after like maybe a few minutes of like the negative thoughts, I would say out loud, like, I just don't feel worthy. And I would say, but I know that I am. I know that I'm worthy. I just don't feel worthy right now. I just don't feel like I'm enough, but I know that I'm enough. I know that I'm enough. I know that I'm enough. Like for every negative thought, you got to say that its opposite 20 times. Because what I'm doing is I'm feeding my subconscious mind new information. I'm creating new patterns that are patterns of self-love. And all this is thanks to being triggered. Because if I hadn't been triggered, those little feelings of unworthiness were already there. They were already there. But I needed to see that they were there to see, oh, I can actually love myself even more. I'm a very spiritual person. I love my life. I feel like I'm a very joyful person overall. So sometimes I can forget to do shadow work because I'm like, I'm good. I'm living in Costa Rica. I'm happy. I don't have a job. I'm free. But deep down, there's still stuff going on that needs to be uprooted. It's a consistent practice of loving myself and nurturing myself. And tearing down those old programs that just don't serve me, that just only create turmoil in my life. So, the advice I have for when you're feeling triggered, how do you know you're triggered? You know, because you feel that feeling. It might be in your heart. It might be in your gut. It could be like even in the back of your head. Wherever you feel it in your body, bring some awareness to just realize, wow, I'm feeling upset right now. Breath. Just one breath can transform your energy. Just taking a moment. It's also important to have, especially when you're in a relationship, you should talk to your partner about what you do when you're upset. Like this is something like while you're not upset and while you're in a peaceful place, it's great to have this conversation of, okay, sometimes I get triggered. We both sometimes get triggered. So what happens when I'm angry or frustrated, this is what I need. I need to be able to express it, and I need you to listen. Or I need a few minutes of quiet time. I need deep breaths. I need a little space. You need to talk it out so you can see what each of you is comfortable with and find a common ground on that. So me and my partner have now had this talk where I'm like, okay, when I get really upset, I need a minute to breathe before I can fully listen to you, or else I'm just not listening to you. So you're wasting your breath. And I want to listen to you and give you my full presence. But I'm so triggered by you right now that I don't care what you have to say because I'm so mad. And I need to let myself come down from that feeling to then be in a better space. So figuring out what works for you when you are angry, because one thing we don't want to do with our anger, first of all, is sacred. It's an emotion. We feel all the emotions. There's nothing wrong with feeling anger or frustration or sadness or grief. They are just as valid as joy and happiness and excitement. It's all a part of the spectrum of this human experience. So also, when I'm experiencing someone being angry or I'm feeling angry, we both need to understand, we can't take it personally when someone feels anger. We need to witness that they are experiencing an emotion and not judge them for that emotion. Because that has been an issue for me. If I feel like I'm angry and now I feel like my partner doesn't like that I'm angry, now I feel more angry because I'm like, but this is real. This is what I'm really feeling right now. I know it's not your fault. It's coming from within me, but I need some time to actually experience this feeling fully. I don't want to push down my anger or hide my anger to the point where it's somewhere hiding in there and then it wants to explode later. I actually need to express I am frustrated right now without scaring the other person away. We need emotional safety. Okay, so between people, not just partners, with family, with friends, with really close, intimate friends, knowing that, okay, sometimes I need to express emotions that might be a little bit uncomfortable for you, but just know that I'm not attacking you. And I'm going to be mindful of my words, how I'm communicating it. So I'm not attacking you. I'm just expressing what is moving within me, and my experience is valid. So understand that. Understand, first of all, when you're feeling a feeling, this is valid. This is what I'm feeling right now. This is temporary. This is not forever. Why am I feeling this way? I know what this person just said is a part of it, but it's touching on something deeper. So then give yourself the opportunity to look for the root of the trigger. Why did that hurt me? Because it made me feel this, this, and this. Because I need to feel admired. I feel like I need to feel supported. I need clear communication. Understanding our needs is really helpful with this. And I'm going to do a whole video about needs and inner child healing and communication very soon. So yes, when you're triggered, breath. Understanding what you need to do when you're experiencing heavy emotions. And talking about that with your partner, with the people in your life, so that we're on the same page. Okay? You need a non-judgmental environment. Because just because you're triggered doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means you're having an experience, a human experience. So once you take some time to reflect, identify the root, now it's time to uproot. Because if it's something that's leading to all this negative emotion, obviously it's something that's not really serving you anymore. So for me, it was underneath it all, I felt feelings of unworthiness. I felt like I was not enough. So this thing that my partner said made me feel like he thought that I wasn't enough, because I still sometimes think that I'm not enough. So once I was able to identify that, I'm able to affirm the opposite. I'm able to affirm, no, actually I am enough. Actually, I am love. I am loved. I am worthy. I am doing my best. And once I get into that energy, I literally become a better person, and I'm able to communicate better. I'm able to show up better for others. Whew. I feel like I'm talking a lot. But I hope this was supportive for y'all. I really do. When we are triggered, start with breath. Take some time to process, what is this trigger coming from? Remember not to blame. Remember not to throw blame, because whatever I'm seeing It starts in here. It starts in here. Okay? And my partner still apologized and held himself accountable for his part in the trigger. It's not like it just means people can just say whatever they want to you and it's always you who have to figure everything out. No, like when you're in a relationship, like we need to both figure it out. We need to work together. But still, not placing blame, not even searching to place blame. Let's just understand what's going on. Let's just understand what we're feeling and why we're feeling this. And when you are seeking to just understand and not blame, it brings you to a more lighthearted space. And especially when you're dealing with family or a partner, understanding that you're on the same side can help. Okay, this person triggered me, but I know that this person loves me. Reminding yourself that too. Like, this person loves me. This person doesn't want to hurt me. I feel hurt. Let me understand why I'm feeling hurt so that I can express it so that now they know, oh, this hurts them. So I'm not going to do this to them because I know that that's hurtful. Let's find harmony. Let's find serenity. Let's come back together. So yeah, and a lot of our triggers are related to things from our childhood, y'all. That's why I focus all of my efforts on inner child healing for myself, for the people in my life, and for the people who I work with one-on-one or in group sessions. Let's explore the behaviors, the patterns that we created long ago, and let's move through them. Let's see which ones are serving us and which ones are not. Also, some of this stuff lives in the body, right? So a part of what helped me to move through everything, because again, like I said, I was so upset the other day on Wednesday, and it started in the morning, but by like 6 p.m., I finally felt ready to let it go. And this happened after I spent an hour laying on a blanket in the grass, just letting myself feel, talking to the trees. All the trees on the land were telling me, it's okay, Deja. We love you. You are worthy. You are worthy. You are worthy. And I had to hear that. I had to really be affirmed. And I was like, okay, I'm ready to let it go. I think I'm ready to let it go. I went and I took a shower. I washed my hair. That helped me so much. I shaved my underarms. I'm going to do a video about removing body hair because I know I made a whole video about me being a hairy woman. And I want to talk to y'all about that, but that's a side note. Anyways, I just was releasing. You know, I was just releasing. I was like, okay, I'm going to shave a little. I'm going to wash and do. I did a face mask. I washed my hair. I like oiled my body. And then I did some yoga. And through coming back into my body and out of my mind, I finally felt better. Because a lot of these triggers are related to traumas from childhood, and the trauma lives in the body. So there's mental work to do as far as like the mental stories and thought patterns that we've created. But there's also like that trauma itself that's living somewhere in our body that needs to be released. So this could be released through movement, through sitting on the earth, grounding, through cleansing. So that's what helped me. And then I was finally done. And after all those hours of sadness, I finally felt like I got to the other side. And I was like, oh, I didn't know if I was going to ever get to the other side, y'all. I didn't know. I was so hurting the other day. I literally like removed all my Instagram posts. I've never done that. I archived them, so they still exist, but I've never done that on my personal page, Princess Nappy. I was like so hurting that I was like, I don't even want to be seen. I'm not worthy to be seen. And I just sat for like an hour and a half and I was just removing all my posts. And that is the level of depth that I got into the other day. I still haven't gone back to Instagram. I will be going back soon. I just needed some time to do some personal work. And also I felt like, you know, my image on there is so positive and so lighthearted and it's so love. And I was like, this isn't me right now. I'm actually very sad. So that led to that. But through all of it, by the next day, I was all right. That next morning, I woke up and I was like, I am happy to be here on earth. I am blessed. I am loved. I am worthy. I am enough. And if I can get through it, I know you can, because I really be putting myself through it, y'all. I be letting myself go so low. But every time that I go through that, I come out feeling renewed, feeling like, wow, I just purged everything that was not serving me. I released so much. I cried so much. And now I'm new. So, hello, nice to meet you. Let me reintroduce myself. My name is Deja, and I am enough, and I am worthy, and I am doing my best. And you're doing your best too. So take care of yourself. I love you. Thank you for listening. If you're interested in working with me one-on-one in an inner child healing session, please check out my website, IHopeYouFindSerenity.com, and click the services link and see if you would like to book a session with me. I offer 60-minute and 90-minute sessions. I've worked with hundreds of people in the last 3 years, and you can also click the reviews tab if you want to see what other people are saying about my sessions. Thanks. Peace.
Hope you find serenity.